Hello everyone, this side Saumya Grover, Assistant Professor, Jagannath University, Jaipur. Today we'll be talking about the news sources, attribution and its types. In this chapter, we will study the concept of sources of news, attribution, byline credit line, embargo, credibility and quotations. Let's start with the unit. News sources, types, credibility, and protection. News sources are people who journalists interview, talk to, quote, observe, or meet to construct a news story. They provide the basic information which is the building block of a news story. At the same time, no two sources can lend the same meaning to a news story, since the role of journalists is interpretational in that they interpret an event for us, framing it or mapping it in a certain social or cultural context, and thus making it intelligible to the audiences. The choice of one source over another is often ideological. Stuart Hall points at three aspects of the social production of news. First, the bureaucratic organization of the media, which produces the news in specific types or categories. Second, the structure of news values, which orders the selection and ranking of stories within these categories. And third, the moment of the construction of news stories, which implies contextualization of an event by the media. News sources refer to the origins or providers of information that journalists rely on to gather news and report stories. These sources are individuals or entities directly involved in or witnessing an event. They can provide first-hand information, quotes, or personal accounts. Examples include eyewitnesses, participants in an event, official statements from organizations or government agencies and documents. Official sources. These sources include government agencies, elected officials, law enforcement agencies, and regulatory bodies. Official sources provide information related to public policy, legal matters, government actions, or official statements. Journalists often rely on official sources for factual information and official statements. Expert sources. Experts in various fields such as academics, researchers, scholars, and professionals provide analysis, insights, and commentary on specific topics. They offer specialized knowledge and can help provide context and understanding of complex issues. Anonymous sources. In certain situations, journalists may use anonymous sources who provide information on the condition of anonymity. This is often done to protect the identity of the source who may face repercussions for sharing sensitive or classified information. Journalists typically follow strict guidelines and ethical standards when using anonymous sources. Eyewitnesses and citizen journalists. Eyewitnesses who directly observe an event can provide valuable first-hand accounts and visuals. Citizen journalists, individuals who are not professional journalists but report on events using social media or personal platforms, can also serve as news sources. Press releases and statements. Press releases, official statements, and media advisories issued by organizations, companies, government agencies, or PR representatives can serve as news sources. These sources provide official information, announcements, or responses to specific events or developments. Surveys, studies, and reports. Journalists often rely on surveys, studies, research papers, and reports from reputable institutions, think tanks, and polling organizations to provide data-driven insights and analysis on various topics. News agencies and wire services. News agencies such as the Associated Press, Reuters, Agence France-Presse, and Bloomberg gather and distribute news stories to media outlets worldwide. Journalists often rely on these wire services for breaking news, global coverage, and factual information. Social media and online sources. Social media platforms, online forums, blogs, and user generated content can provide real time information, eyewitness accounts, and different perspectives on events. However, journalists must verify and cross reference information obtained from these sources due to the potential for misinformation or bias. It is important for journalists to critically evaluate and verify the credibility and reliability of their sources to ensure accurate and responsible reporting. Multiple sources should be consulted to obtain a balanced and comprehensive view of a story. News sources. One study after another comes up with essentially the same observation. The story of journalism on a day-to-day basis is the story of the interaction of reporters and officials. Sources of news are everywhere. A journalist is surrounded by sources of potential news stories or features. A conversation with a friend, a poster on a wall, an unexpected juxtaposition all might result in a story if you keep your eyes, ears, and mind open. Some sources will be routine points of contact for journalists, while others may be one-offs. Some will be proactive, approaching journalists because they want news access for their views or events, while other sources may not even be aware that they are sources. A journalist should maintain a contact book having list of people categorized and carrying vital information. Sources of news can be listless like academic journals. Research by academics published in journals is a frequent source of news stories. Here the journalist's job is to spot a potential story among qualifications and to render the story intelligibly to the readers. Armed forces. In peacetime, the armed forces can generate stories through mysterious deaths or cases of bullying that comes to light. During time of conflict, military briefings become events in their own right. Art groups. Apart from providing information about forthcoming events, art groups can generate rows about funding or controversial subject matters. Campaigns. Campaigners who want to influence public opinion on subjects ranging from animal rights to environment are likely to come up with opinions or events that might generate news stories. Commerce and trade. Business organizations can be useful source of news stories or comments about anything from interest rates, shares to shopping. Also, consumer stories are valuable source of information for evaluating the image of an organization. Council press officers. Local authorities employ teams of press officers. They react to journalists' queries, coming up with information, codes, and contacts while acting as buffer between decision makers and journalists. Council press officers with an eye for a good story should be able to get daily page leads in local evening newspaper because they know what turns on the common people. Court hearings. Court reporters dip in and out of several courtrooms looking for cases that fit the news values. Hence, the importance of good contacts with court staff, police, solicitors, and others should be realized. Some reporters will also go after background material like quotes from victims and their relatives. Entertainment industry. It is an increasingly important source for today's media and celebrities gain immensely because of popularity through media coverage. Films, serials, and various other programs gain only if media has been highlighting them. Government News Network. The Government News Network produces vast number of news releases on behalf of the government departments and agencies on a regional and national basis. It also handles ministerial and royal visits. Health authorities and hospitals. Outbreak of serious disease, funding crisis, hospital closures, and health promotion are all examples of news stories that arise from health authorities. Hospitals are source of good news stories carrying news about cures, new treatments, and general triumph over tragedy. Libraries. Though it is hard to believe, but the truth is that not everything is available on the internet. Libraries retain a useful role in providing access to reference books, company reports, local history, archives, indexes of local societies, community notice boards, and so on. News agencies. They are the foot soldiers of journalism at a national and international level, allowing media organizations to cover stories in areas where they have few or no staff. Agencies keep a check on offices and local bodies and look out for news stories here. Newspapers, radio, television, big news media houses depend largely on the news agencies for general news coverage. Some famous news agencies are AP, Associated Press of America, Reuters, United Kingdom, PTI, Press Trust of India. News releases. News or press releases are point of reference for the journalists while covering an event. Badly written press releases can be waste of time for both the journalists can be waste of time both for the journalist as well as for the organization. Notice boards. Notices in shops, offices, libraries, colleges and elsewhere may also become a source of news. Other media. Newspaper monitor other newspapers plus TV, radio, news sites on the web, and in turn each medium monitors other media. People. Potential stories can be suggested by people you meet while at work, rest and play. This can range from somebody mentioning that they have just seen a police car parked in their street to other substantial information provided by the common people. Political parties. Contacts within parties can be a fruitful source of stories about roles and splits, while party spokespeople will be more keen to let you know about the selection of candidates or launch of policy initiatives. PR companies. This industry provides the journalists and us a peek into the media world every day. So it is a major source for the journalists. Press conference. Press conferences are likely to be held to announce the results of official inquiries or to unveil new appointments. Fewer press conferences take place these days as most journalists are too busy to go and collect information that could be fixed or emailed. Universities. Universities are a source of huge range of stories, whether it is ground-breaking research, an unusual degree scheme, or an ethical argument. They are also where you will find experts in everything from aeronautics to the zodiac. In journalism, a source is a person, publication, or other record or document that gives information. Examples of source include official records, publication, or broadcasts. Official in government or business organizations or corporations, witnesses of crime, and more importantly, involve people. According to Shoemaker 1996 and McQuill 1994, there are a multitude of factors that tend to condition the acceptance of sources as credible by journalists. Reporters are expected to develop and cultivate sources. This applies especially if they regularly cover a specific area or topic known as a beat. However, beat reporters must be cautious of becoming too close to their sources. Reporters often, but not always, give greater leeway to sources with little experience. For example, sometimes a person will say they don't want to talk and then proceed to talk. If that person is not a public figure, reporters are less likely to use that information. Journalists are also encouraged to be skeptical without being cyclical as a basic rule, but especially when reporting on controversy. Reporters are expected to use multiple sources. Attribution. Attribution is a fundamental principle in journalism that promotes transparency accountability, and accurate reporting. It helps maintain the integrity of news sources and ensures that readers or viewers can evaluate the credibility and reliability of the information being presented. Attribution in news sources refers to the practice of giving credit or acknowledging the origin of information used in a news story. It involves identifying and mentioning the source of a specific piece of information, quote, or fact that contributes to the overall reporting. In journalism, there are several types of attribution used to identify the sources of information in news stories. These types of attribution provide transparency and allow readers or viewers to assess the credibility and reliability of the information. Here are some common types of attribution. Direct attribution. Direct attribution involves directly quoting or attributing information to a specific individual or source. It implicitly mentions the name of the source within quotation marks or as part of the sentence. Indirect attribution. Indirect attribution refers to attributing information to a source without directly quoting them. Instead of using quotation marks, indirect attribution provides a general reference to the source. For example, partial attribution. Partial attribution Partial attribution acknowledges the source of specific information while not attributing the entire statement or piece of information to that source. It may involve attributing the source for certain facts or details within a larger statement. Background attribution. Background attribution is used when information is sourced from a general or public knowledge rather than from specific individual or sources. It indicates that the information is widely known or commonly accepted without a need for a specific source. Anonymous attribution. Anonymous attribution is used when the source of the information wishes to remain unidentified. It is typically employed when the information is sensitive and the source may face potential repercussions. Journalists must follow ethical guidelines and exercise caution when using anonymous sources to maintain credibility. For example, a confidential source within the organization revealed that budget cuts are imminent. Attribution to documents or reports. Attribution can also be given to official documents, reports, or research findings. This type of attribution acknowledges the document as the source of information. For example, according to the latest report published by the WHO, the global vaccination rate has surpassed 50%. Attribution to social media or online sources. With the rise of social media and online platforms, attribution may be given to user-generated content or online sources. It involves identifying the platform or username from where the information was obtained. These types of attribution help journalists provide transparency and maintain the integrity of their reporting by clearly identifying the sources of information. The specific type of attribution used depends on the nature of the information, the credibility of the source, and the requirements of journalistic style or guidelines. Byline, credit line, and embargo. Byline. A byline is a credit given to the author or journalist who wrote a particular article or news story. It typically appears at the beginning or end of the article, providing the author's name and sometimes additional information about the author, such as their title or affiliation with the publication. Bylines serve to attribute the work to the individual responsible for its creation and allow readers to identify the author of a specific piece of writing. Bylines are commonly used in newspapers, magazines, online articles, and other forms of journalistic or written content. Credit line. A credit line in the context of journalism and media refers to the acknowledgement given to individuals or organizations who have contributed